a different reality. We're aware of different things that affect us, different conditions in our lives that affect us. A lot of times, what we become aware of during an activation are things we need to let go of: traumas, fears, old beliefs, old patterns of being. All kinds of things lurk within that subconscious layer of conditioning. And we've learned in Akashic Trancework, there are some very practical ways that we can release those things. And by releasing those things, by really letting go of them, by moving them out of our bodies, by rewiring our core beliefs, we can truly expand. And when we talk about expansion, we're talking about healing. We're talking about growing. We're talking about evolving. We're talking about moving beyond our limiting beliefs and conditions to a new level of awareness. Some people call this awakening or ascension, but we like the term expansion because it is a growing, it is a moving out. Our heart centers actually expand to encompass a broader understanding of the universe. And it's such a fulfilling experience to go through a true expansion because we've made space to live, we've made space to enjoy, we've made space to thrive. We want to move beyond survival into thriving. And once we're there, there's so much we can do. We can really experience on many different levels of being. We can explore past lives. We can connect to the Akashic record, to the history of all things that have ever been. We can explore different dimensions of being, but it doesn't have to be something like that. It could be as simple as finding our purpose, or finding a new career, or finding that relationship that we want. But in order to do that, we really have to make space. So in order to do that, we need to explore our consciousness. We need to understand our consciousness. And we need to face ourselves. And that's the hard work that we do in Akashic Trance work. Akashic Trance work is not for everyone. You have to be able to face yourself. You have to be able to really look at yourself and spend time with yourself. We really need to learn to love ourselves radically, to accept ourselves completely. If we can do that, then we can move through expansion phases very easily, very gently, and very readily. But it's not an easy process always to get there. So we want to be able to understand our consciousness first, and then create some astral boundaries. So just kind of an agenda for this webinar. Talk about some tools that we've developed for accessing some different states of awareness, some different trance states. We'll talk about astral boundaries, which I just mentioned, which are very important in this process for safe trance work. And then I'll take you on a guided journey to explore some of these concepts in an experiential way. We want to experience these things more than just talk about them. And then afterwards, if you would like to engage in any kind of discussion or share about your experiences, then we'd be more than happy to take some time for that. So let's talk a little bit about trance states. Why do we care about trance states? Why does it matter if we can move ourselves between different states of awareness? Trance states lead us to engage with the subconscious mind. All of our stuff happens at a subconscious level. The conscious mind is the tiniest percentage of our energy, our thoughts, our mind, maybe 1% at most. Everything else happens below the surface. Have you ever seen that picture of an iceberg representing the human consciousness? You have the little tip of the iceberg above the water, and then below that, you have the entire body. And it's like that. Everything that we need to learn about ourselves is below the surface. Sometimes people call this shadow work, going down into the subconscious to explore, to understand ourselves. But it's not all in the shadows. There's a lot of really great, beautiful, loving things down there that we just need to understand. The subconscious mind communicates through symbolism. It communicates through what we call dream language. So in order to really interface with the subconscious mind, which is, after all, the portal to our deeper spiritual awareness, as anyone who's done any shamanic work or deep psychotherapy or any kind of plant medicines knows that that subconscious connection does take us into our spiritual understanding. So trance work allows us to get to the subconscious mind easily. It's not hard. Now, it does take courage. So we cultivate astral boundaries, we cultivate positive things so that we can go within with safety, with joy, with love, with compassion, with happiness. We want to engage those feelings as a foundation first. And trance work also allows us to cultivate those feelings, to thrive, to enjoy life on a deeper level. So let's talk a little bit about these different trance states and what they look like. We can actually quite literally see them. If we use an EEG, hi Angela, thanks for being present with us. We're just talking a little bit about brain waves right now. So if we measure our brains, if we hook ourselves up to an EEG, we can see the actual wavelengths of our different states of consciousness. Let's talk a little bit about what these brain waves mean, right? And these are kind of the cornerstones of what we do in Akashic Trance work, understanding these different brainwave patterns and how we can induce them. We want to get to some of these states, and some of these states we don't want to get to. But first, we have to understand them. It's just energy. You might almost see it like a tone or a song moving through your mind, right? Depending on how tight or how loose these brain waves are, depending on the specific frequency, you will be feeling very differently. So we work to understand and induce these different states. Let's talk a little bit about these. Beta states are there when you're very focused, when you're engaged with your external physical 3D space, when you're feeling very alert, when you're engaged with everything around you, even fear and anxiety and things like that. All of those things produce beta waves in the mind. Sometimes we want to generate more beta waves, especially if we're feeling very ungrounded, if we need more physical energy to do things. Beta waves can be great to bring in and induce, but we don't really talk a whole lot about beta waves in Akashic trance work as much as we do alpha and theta. Those are the states of mind that we want to work in primarily above all else. Alpha states are very, very powerful. And we'll talk a little bit more about those in detail here in a minute, but we really love working in alpha states because they're so easy to get to. You go to an alpha state very easily all the time. You may not know it, but you work in those states all the time. Anytime that you're daydreaming or just kind of spacing out or taking a little nap or lightly meditating, you're engaging your alpha state awareness. So alpha states are great for doing a lot of visualization and creative work, which is most of what we do in Akashic Trance work. Once we've mastered kind of moving between these states of consciousness, we do a lot of creative, imaginative, visual work. So down from that alpha state, we have our delta state, which is that deep physical rest. Our minds are completely just shut off. We have no awareness of anything going on around us. It's a very healing place, but it's not the most suggestible place. It's not really a place where we usually remember anything because we're just in our bodies. We're resting in kind of a pure, almost animal state. So delta states are very restful and healing, but not really what we are trying to reach in Akashic trance work. Although sometimes if we're doing sound healing or something like that, we will encourage people to just go ahead and go down to that delta state. Theta states are kind of the sweet spot of trance work. Theta states are what you achieve when you're dreaming, when you're deeply, deeply resting or relaxed, not really aware of your body. In a deep theta state, somebody could come along and pick up your arm and drop it, and you would still be engaged with your inner astral awareness, your inner imaginative, creative awareness, and you probably wouldn't even notice. In the Akashic trance work, we want to induce theta states, and we'll talk a little bit more here in a minute about why we care about that. We can also measure gamma states. Gamma states are not something that we can really induce in ourselves or someone else as much as we cultivate our gamma states. Gamma states are deeply aware, deeply in tune with our heart-centered awareness. We equate gamma states with the heart-centered awareness, a place of pure compassion, a place of pure love and thriving joy, abundance, all the good, positive, happy things are happening there in that gamma state. It's really just full presence with everything. So we won't necessarily always be able to be in a gamma state, but the more we cultivate practices like meditation or trance work or just tantric presence, things like that, our gamma states become more and more active. They're the types of brainwave patterns that have been observed in people that have been doing meditation for many years. So gamma states are very valuable. And we don't, again, really try to induce gamma states, but we do aspire to them because they are so powerful and so enjoyable to experience. So let's talk a little bit more about our alpha states. Alpha states are extremely powerful and extremely enjoyable because we can get to them at any point. We can just allow ourselves to start engaging with our astral space, accessing our astral space. So, in Akashic Trance work, we don't use astral, the term astral, in the same way that everyone does. We use the term astral space to describe all of our internal experiences, all of our non physical experiences, as opposed to physical space. Physical space is all of that experience that is predictable by a set of physical laws, the laws of physics. If I have a physical ball and I pick it up and I drop it, it's going to fall every time, pretty much the same way, at the same rate. If I have a ball in my astral space, in my imagination or my dreams, it could turn into a bird or dissolve or who knows what. All kinds of things are possible in that astral space. There are certain laws and principles that do apply in astral space, but they're very different and not as easy to predict. So we make that very simple distinction. So if you hear me talking about astral space, I'm just talking about, again, that inner experience. And it could be the imagination, it could be creativity, it could be your visions that you're receiving, it could be your emotional states, maybe it's physical sensations that you can't quite identify. And there may be some physical things happening, some physical laws, but it's primarily an internal experience. And it's hard to apply any predictable laws to it. So that's what we mean by astral space. And in these alpha states, in these imaginative states, we can do a lot of very powerful work. In the West, we've been taught that we only have five senses, right? And then we might generally vaguely talk about a sixth sense, about having psychic awareness or intuitive awareness. But in reality, we have many senses. The Egyptians taught that we have 360 senses. We don't even have words in our language to describe all of these senses. But if you think about all the layers of awareness that you have, the different types of intuition that you have, the different senses, the different awarenesses that you have, your dreams, your concepts of your past lives and your ancestors, your spirit guides, and even if you don't connect with those things, you can feel all these different sort of attunements within you if you open yourself up. And that's really what it's about. It's about tuning into these different senses, right? It's about allowing ourselves to connect with those sensory capabilities. It's like opening your eyes or uncovering your ears or choosing to cover them or close them. Sometimes it's not so much about activating those senses as learning how to turn them off. Sometimes it's what we need to do. A lot of people who are drawn to this course naturally go into these alpha trances very readily, very easily, kind of spacing out or daydreaming off. And then, they may find that they're not focused, they're not able to focus. And there's a lot of medical terms for these things, but really, it's about not being able to center and ground, right? So in Akashic Trance work, we work with as many people that need help just sort of centering at the heart center and grounding in to their physical bodies as opening these senses. Then understanding the experiences that do happen while we're in our astral spaces. So alpha trance is extremely important because it's so easy to get to, and we can do a lot of very important creative visual work in that space. It's really helpful to be able to go into those alpha places because it's power, right? What you're thinking about, what you're imagining is power, and simple affirmation doesn't always do it, right? We can tell ourselves something over and over again. I am love, I am abundance, I am wealth. Eventually, the mind kind of gets bored with that. And in most cases, we find ourselves needing something new. But in Akashic Trance work, we want to engage with the creative, visual, imaginative capacities. It doesn't always have to be visual, but we want to be able to imagine. We want to be able to create intentional astral spaces in our mind, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But ultimately, the alpha trance state is very powerful. So when we're daydreaming, we're actually, in a very real sense, we're creating our reality. We're creating our expectations. We're bringing in certain emotions and certain feelings. So it's really powerful if we can bring ourselves in to these astral spaces intentionally. And that's what we teach in Akashic Trance work, is how to get ourselves to these states. So let's talk about this. How do we get into these alpha states? How do I get into an alpha trance that allows me to easily connect with my astral space, to easily use these powerful tools that we've developed? It's very simple. There's two methods, and there's similar methods for the other trance states too. We developed these methods for all of these different states, for alpha and theta specifically. So the main tool that we use is breath work. Simple, right? If you've done any kind of yoga, any kind of meditation, martial arts, physical activity of any kind, you know how important the breath is, how changing the breath changes our mind. It changes our thoughts, it changes our feelings, it changes our sensations. The breath is our guide and also our lifeline, right? So if we allow ourselves to experience the breath in different ways, then we can really cultivate it to bring us between these different states of awareness. What we've observed through working with ourselves and working with our clients and students is that most people can breathe themselves down into an alpha state pretty quickly with a 5 count on the inhale and a 5 count on the exhale. It's very simple. It varies a little bit for people depending on your lung capacity and things like that. It may be between 4 to 7 seconds. It's basically a natural, relaxed breath, right? If you breathe too deeply, you'll get a little bit too relaxed. And we're just trying to get into this alpha state right now. So we don't want to make it too long of a breath. Even if you have a lot of lung capacity, I recommend not going beyond 7 seconds for this particular purpose. So I recommend that you do this with me now. If you would like to try it out, get nice and comfortable, take a couple deep breaths first, just regular deep breaths. And I'm going to count to 5 while you breathe in, and then I'll count to 5 while you breathe out. And just go with it naturally. Make sure it's comfortable for you. Let's begin. I'm going to count in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just relax for a moment. And you'll immediately begin to perceive a subtle change in your awareness. You might have been focusing on my voice or on this presentation, but you're becoming more aware of your inner experience now. Maybe your thoughts and emotions and physical internal sensations are starting to become more and more prevalent. Those are your astral experiences. You're connecting to your inner astral space. And the more you connect to your thoughts, the more you connect with your feelings and just be present with them without pushing them away or without trying to attach to anything, just kind of being present and observing thoughts and feelings. That's the alpha state, ultimately, is engaging, connecting with your inner state, with your inner self. So breath work is great, and we love breath work, but it doesn't work for everyone for various reasons. Some people don't like to have to count their breaths. Some people find it more anxiety inducing than relaxing to breathe for a variety of reasons. And we don't want that. We want to be able to relax. We want to get out of our minds into our bodies. So, another method of quick and easy trance induction that we discovered in Akashic Trance work is toning. Toning is not quite like singing, but it's similar. We're just using our voices to vibrate into different parts of our bodies. You probably do this anyway. You probably do it all the time. If you are humming or singing, it relaxes you, right? And where you hum or tone into your body actually enables you to move between these different dimensions of awareness. It's very powerful, it's very simple, and it's very effective. If you've ever done any kind of mantra or chants or anything like that, then you already know this power. But it doesn't have to be any particular syllable or note. It doesn't have to sound good. It doesn't have to sound perfect. You're not performing for anyone. You're just helping yourself to relax. So I recommend, if you are interested, let's go ahead and try it out. So take a deep breath. And what we're going to do is we're going to just hum into our face. We're going to make a tone into our face. One more time. If you do it right, you should feel some vibration in your face and your nose and your brain and your eyes. It's very soothing and relaxing. Toning is a very primal sensation. It's kind of just like when our mothers are humming to us. It's very relaxing. It's very primal. And it activates, in this case, the third eye and the nasal cavity and all of those parts of us that are about perception and about articulation and expression. So, that's how we get ourselves into an alpha state. If you can master one of these techniques, you can get yourself into this state very quickly. Not only is it a great way to get yourself into a trance state pretty quickly, it's also really great relaxation. If you are having any kind of anxiety or tension or pain or discomfort or disease, these basic techniques can bring you down from that high beta state to a relaxed alpha state very quickly. So don't worry about remembering all this stuff. You'll have a summary that will come to you by email after the webinar. So just take it as it is for now, and hopefully you were able to engage with one of these techniques. So we've talked a little bit about alpha trance. Let's talk a little bit more about the theta state. Again, the theta state is usually what people talk about when they're talking about a trance state. It's a very deep state of physical relaxation where our minds are fully engaged with our astral space, with our visionary, imaginative, creative inner space. It's the kind of state that's usually induced in a hypnotherapy session or in a shamanic journey. It's very powerful, and a lot of deep work can happen in those states. In Akashic Trance work, we want to induce theta states. Typically, your natural theta state happens when you've been asleep for a little while. You'll go down into that delta state first, and that delta state is where you rest and where you feel relaxed and where you fully sink in and your mind gets to rest, your body gets to rest. And then once that's happened, you can go into your theta state and your mind can travel around. The problem is we don't usually remember those things, right? And we want to be able to remember what happens in our theta states so that we can process those things, so we can understand those things, so that we can heal if we need to, so we can receive the communication from our subconscious. When we are receiving a lot of dream activity, our subconscious minds are trying to process and possibly communicate things to our conscious minds. With trance work, we can get to that place without having to fall asleep first, and we can bring that information out of our theta states. That's really what we're talking about often when we talk about reading or accessing the Akashic record. It's going into a deep theta state, recovering symbolic information and bringing it out, making it conscious, instead of just letting it kind of slip away into the subconscious. So it can be a little bit tricky to go into a theta state, especially by ourselves, because our bodies will tend to want to just slip down into sleep. It's so relaxing that we'll just go into sleep, which is fine. Sometimes our bodies need sleep, and we should respect and honor that. But we want to be able to have an experience. We want to have a visual experience. We want to have a creative experience. We want to have a spiritual experience within that place. So having a guide or an asker is very helpful, but it's not fully necessary if we can just master that sweet spot of theta trance without falling asleep. So, as with the alpha experience, the theta trance can be induced with breath and toning. And I should qualify all of this by saying there's many ways to induce trance states, but breath and toning are by far the simplest ones that we've found that most anyone can use anywhere without anyone else or any external circumstances or conditions. So the theta breath is pretty deep, but not quite the deepest breath you can do. Your deepest breath, your deepest comfortable breath will put you to sleep. If you ever have trouble sleeping, take the deepest breaths you can for a couple of minutes and you go to sleep, usually, because you're actually depriving your brain of oxygen just a little bit, and that puts you in a lower state of awareness. It relaxes you, and we need that sometimes, but we want to try to keep ourselves somewhat awake, but also in that theta state. So, the theta breath is, for most people, 7 to 9 seconds. It says here 10 seconds. It may be 10 seconds. I would not go beyond 10 seconds on a single inhalation exhalation count. If you do find that this breath is not working for you, make it go a little bit longer, but you don't want to force the breath. Always explore. See how the different breath patterns work for you. So, if you would like, I invite you to try a couple of theta breath cycles with me. And we'll actually go into a little bit deeper theta experience here in a few minutes. But for now, just try to rest and relax a little bit. And I'm going to count to 7 on the inhale, count to 7 on the exhale. And if your head starts drooping a little bit, don't be too surprised. So I'm going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I do that too long myself, I will start to slip down to that theta place and rest and relax a little bit too much. And I don't want to do that right now. So I'm trying to talk to you. So you will find that the more that you play with your different breath counts, the more effectively you can bring yourself between those states of awareness. If you enjoy breath work, or if it works for you, or if you're in the right state of mind. Sometimes if our minds are too cluttered, too busy, we won't be able to really do effective breath work. That's why we have toning, and toning is very effective too. I would say the theta toning is like my favorite thing to do in the universe. At least one of my favorite things to do in the universe. It's so easy, it's so relaxing, it's so primal that toning myself into a theta state will get me from any state of being that I'm in, no matter how upset or how anxious or how tired I might be. I can really instantly bring myself into that theta place very easily just by toning. So, to tone into a theta state, we want to hum, we want to vibrate our voices down into that space right between the heart and the solar plexus, right in the lower heart region. So if you want to try it with me, take a nice deep breath. Mm. One more time. Mm. And if you do it right, you should feel a vibration in your hands, in your chest, in your heart. It's very soothing and it's very primal. And we really can use the voice to go to any part of our body. As I was saying before, it doesn't have to be a specific syllable. Though you may notice that M sound is the end part of an Om, which is that universal sound of creation that they use in yogic practice. So you can also Om or do any kind of syllable or mantra or chant to get yourself to that place. But the important thing is the vibration, the feeling. And it is important to focus on that part of the body. For whatever reason, the deeper down into the body that we go, we begin to actually activate our beta waves. And that's because of the connection to our root chakra, I believe. Because if we tone down deep enough, we actually activate our survival minds, which is really interesting. So if you actually need to raise some energy, if you tone deep down into your body, you can raise some energy. You can actually bring up the Kundalini if you know anything about that. If you don't, we can talk about that at some point. But a lot of work you can do with toning, going between different states of awareness. So, theta states are very important. We want to be able to get there and stay there on our own. And that's the kind of thing that we teach in Akashic Trance work, how to get in trance states, how to work by ourselves in trance states, and also how to work with other people in trance states if we want to. So that's trance states 101. Really interesting stuff. I could talk about it indefinitely, and I do. But I want to talk about what we do once we get there. So once we've mastered getting ourselves to trance states, we can go into these alpha states, we can go to our theta states. All kinds of stuff starts happening. Once we're there, we have a lot of thoughts, feelings, memories, associations, daydreams, fantasies, worries, et cetera, endless amounts of stuff happening within that space. So, what we really want to learn to do once we've mastered our trance states is to create intentional astral spaces. Think about how you stay safe in physical space. How do you stay safe in physical space? You build a structure, or you rent a structure, you buy a structure, right? Theoretically, that keeps you safe. It keeps you safe from the elements, it keeps you safe from being attacked by animals and other people. It protects you. So we do this in Akashic Trance work astrally as well. We're creating a home within ourselves. We're creating intentional astral spaces, which we have the right to do. We can do that. We can set aside space within our own thoughts, within our own feelings for ourselves just to rest, just to nourish ourselves. Use some of that mental and emotional energy to create spaces. Use our creative, imaginative abilities to intentionally build safe astral spaces where we can go. We do a lot of work with intentional astral spaces in Akashic Trance work. And the most important thing that we do is cultivate the intentional astral space, the safe space within the heart. One of the best astral spaces that people like to create are the safe spaces because you can put something beautiful there. Here you have a beach, right? Think about the beach. What are your associations with the beach? It's very popular because most people have pretty positive associations with this space. You can imagine it, you can remember it, you can feel the air, you can smell the water, you can feel the sand, you can hear seagulls. It's very popular because of all the associations, right? Your safe space should be a place that has positive associations for you. It doesn't have to be a literal space like this. A lot of people really like to create spaces like this that are very easy to summon or imagine, but it can be an abstract place. It could be floating in water. It could be floating in space. It could be an entire island or a planet to yourself. It really just depends how creative, imaginative you are. But ultimately, what matters is the feeling. How do you feel there? What feelings do you bring in? What positive associations do you bring in? We want a place that makes us feel happy. Some people actually have trouble finding any place that makes them feel happy. And if that's the case, then that's the first thing we need to do. We need to create something, even if it's just a room or an object in our minds that gives us some sort of positive association. And it's important. It's not just an imaginary tool, it's something that we are building within ourselves to nourish ourselves. We want to bring in the things that give us joy, whatever that might be. It could be people, it could be memories, it could be songs, it could be colors or pictures or poems or TV shows. It doesn't matter. There's no rules about this. This is your space, your personal private space, just like your bedroom. You can decorate it any way you choose, but you want things that make you feel good, things that make you feel happy. It's your most private space, and you don't ever have to tell anyone about it. Although, if you do use me or someone else as a guide, it may be helpful to communicate about it, but you don't have to. We want to just do things that bring us joy, that cultivate joy, right? We want to laugh, we want to smile, we want to live and love. There's so many things outside of the world, outside of ourselves, that just frustrate us and limit us and confuse us, and some of those things we can control and some of those things we can't. But ultimately we need to be able to create a space within ourselves where we're not completely focusing on all those things. We want to have some time every day for ourselves, even if it's just a minute, even if it's just 30 seconds, really focusing on our own energy, our own cultivation. It's not selfish. In fact, it's one of the most selfless things you can do because it makes you a better person for the people around you. It makes you a better parent or partner or friend or coworker or whatever it is that you do in life. It will make you more effective. It'll make you a more effective human if you spend some time cultivating joy. It's very powerful to do this. So we want to, yeah, we want to cultivate some energy. We want to spend some time with ourselves. Just spending time with ourselves. It's very important. So think about this. If you are remembering something, if you are thinking about someone, you're thinking about a problem that you have, or your job, or a memory that you can't let go of, which is common with people that have a lot of trauma or difficult things in their lives. These intrusive thoughts and feelings tend to come up, right? How much time do you give to those things? If you're thinking about anything or anyone, that thing, that energy, that person is within your astral boundary. They're in your heart space. You are giving them time. You are giving them energy. Doesn't matter if you've cut them off from your life completely or if you've told them to step outside of your room. If you're thinking about them, they're with you. You're giving them time and energy. And it may or may not benefit them in some way, but is it benefiting you? Is it benefiting you? Is it giving you the energy that you need? Is it doing anything at all? Is it just causing you to worry? Is it taking away time and energy that you need to do other things with, or that you just need to spend with yourself, caring for yourself? Even beings that we have responsibility for, even the ones that we love, even the ones that we're most connected to, even those beings, we can set boundaries with. We can say, I've been thinking about you all day. I think about you every day, and it takes a lot of my time and energy. I'm going to spend 5 minutes on myself. This is a big problem for parents, right? Parents love their children. I have kids. I love my kids, right? We tend to kind of martyr ourselves over the beings that we love. We think about them all the time. We put all of our energy, all of our vitality, all of our life force into those beings, pouring everything in, and we leave nothing for ourselves. Do we even take time to step away? Hopefully you do. Hopefully, if you have that situation in your life, you do take time for yourself. But a lot of parents don't. And this is true of people that have partners. This is true of people that have careers that they're very invested in. It's important to take time for ourselves. So when we develop astral boundaries, one of the biggest boundaries that we are creating is that boundary within ourselves about what we're thinking, what we're feeling. How much time and energy are we going to give? to a given person or situation in memory, how much time and energy are we going to allow ourselves to care for ourselves? At least 1 minute a day of going into this safe space, which is the heart space. This is your heart center, your center of your being. The more time that you spend there in that place of happiness, the more effective of a person you'll be, the more happy you'll be, the more you will thrive. Just spending some time with yourself. And this is not about being narcissistic or being selfish or being self absorbed. Of course, you want to be compassionate. Of course, you want to allow those energies in, those beings in that give us love and give us nourishment, and that we can love and nourish in exchange. We want to be connected. Really, the point of boundaries is not so much to keep anything out, it's to allow those things in that should be there. We establish boundaries with people that we want to relate with. And we establish those inner boundaries, those astral boundaries with energies that we want to understand. If you can establish those kinds of boundaries, you can establish a boundary with any kind of being. You can create a space for yourself where nothing can penetrate. Nothing goes into your heart space that doesn't belong there. If you learn to cultivate the space, you will know how to create a boundary with any being. You will always be safe. If you have an external house, an external structure, that can always be torn down. That can be taken from you. But no one can take that heart space, no matter what situation you're in, no matter what context you're in. No one can take that from you. So that's our discussion on astral boundaries. And I wanted to take some time now, just about 5 or 6 minutes, to take you on a guided journey. So I recommend just taking a moment to relax. If you're not using headphones already, I recommend getting some headphones and having good head and neck support. Most people want to just lay back, or if you're sitting in a chair, you might want to lay back and just relax a little bit. Take some time to just relax and breathe. Allow yourself to just sit back. Yeah, laying down is great. Take some deep breaths. And we'll start with that 5 count of the breath again. In for 5, out for 5. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just continue to breathe. Just observing thoughts and feelings, physical sensations, all of your memories and ideas and thoughts and feelings and sensations, inspiration, concern, just letting them flow through your mind as you relax, just connecting with yourself, just connecting, just relaxing, just spending some time with yourself as you breathe. And now we'll just breathe a little bit deeper as we count to 7 on the inhale, to 7 on the exhale. Breathe with me now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Continue to be relaxing deeply. And as you relax even deeper, you begin to imagine a safe, warm, happy place. It could be a place you've been, place you like to be, a place from your daydream, an abstract place. Just relax there, breathing as you feel a deep sense of peace and calm. Engage this place with all of your senses, sounds and smells, texture, color. This place is your heart center, place of peace, compassion, and unconditional love. A place where you can just be yourself, where you can just connect with yourself, your true self, beneath all of the conditions of your identity, beneath your name, beneath your social expectation, beneath your body, beneath all those things people have told you about yourself. Here is your true self, your higher self awareness. Take some breaths as you connect fully with that awareness. If there is anything other than love, other than peace, other than joy that comes into this space, anything unpleasant, uncomfortable, ask those things to step outside of this space. Let them know you'll connect with them later when it's time. Those things don't belong here. This is your space, your private space. You may find some of those things resist leaving this space. They do this because they have communication for you. They have information for you. You need to spend some time thinking, considering, calculating, understanding, listening. But you don't need to spend all of your time. What is the most intrusive thing? Maybe it's a person. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe it's your job. Maybe it's your finances. Maybe it's a child. Maybe it's something else. Whatever it is, it does need your attention, but not all of your attention. It's time to set a boundary. How much of your time and energy are you going to give to this thing? How much of your life are you going to give? An hour a day, an hour a week. Maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's so pressing, so important. It takes up most of your time. Whatever it is, whatever your responsibilities, obligations, it's okay to have some space to yourself. How much time each day will you come to this place to rest, relax, rejuvenate, to self-care, to love yourself, to be with yourself? A minute a day, an hour a day, 2 hours a day. How much time? Take a few moments to set those boundaries within yourself. If you can do this, you can create a boundary with any being, with any energy that comes your way, because you are stepping into sovereignty of your heart center, the true sovereignty of your being. Take a couple more breaths. And gradually and slowly, gently, bring yourself back to your physical space, to the physical room that you're in, opening your eyes and stretching, moving your fingers and toes a little bit. Hopefully, that was an enjoyable experience for you. If you would like to share with us how it went, we'll leave this channel open for a few minutes. Kimmy, I apologize I didn't see your message earlier, but yes, toning is a very powerful, very simple way to relax. So if you take anything away from this webinar, I hope that's a useful one for you. You can do that with children or with a partner or anywhere that you want to be. You can really play with toning quite a bit. I would even say that much of this modality came from my partner Astar and I working on our toning abilities. So I do encourage playing with the toning ability a little bit, seeing what you can do with that. Thanks, Cami. So I appreciate everyone for being here today for this free webinar. We will be following up with an email that has the information that we covered, as well as some other useful links and information. If you'd like to engage with us some more, we do offer free consults. You can always sign up at our site, akashictrance.com/consult. We also have a class that we have available now, the Akashic Trancework Initiation. If you'd like to learn more about that, go to akashictrance.com akashictrancework.com/initiation, and follow us on Facebook. If you want to come back and do another one of these webinars sometime, you're welcome to do that too. I like to change it up a little bit each time and maybe changing up the topics too. So feel free to engage with us and reach out to me or Astara anytime if you have any questions or just want to talk a little bit. We're pretty accessible people. So thank you again. Deepest blessings. Have a wonderful evening or morning, wherever you are.